Jimmy Dore is still talking up Nina Turner's loss in her Ohio District 11, I believe it was, election back in, what was it? Was it early August? I think so, right? Um, just, this is he had on this guy who goes by Socialist MMA on Twitter. He's another one of those Dore-esque People's Party types, the same type of politics that like the Convo Couch, those two people I had a debate with a couple of weeks back. That sort of like anti the squad, I'm further left than you type, ridiculousness. But here they are talking about Nina Turner's loss to Chantel Brown, who was the centrist in the race, and obviously Nina Turner was running a progressive campaign as the left-wing candidate. And I mean, let's just play it. Let's just play it because I don't even. This is just. I saw this making the rounds, and I had to give it a listen. Here we go.
How could you be running as a progressive for Congress in the middle of a pandemic and not show up to a Medicare for All march?
Oh my God.
And then you're surprised you lost? You're surprised more people didn't show up for you? The most popular policy in the country is Medicare for All. You don't show up for a Medicare for All march, and you expect people who have a revolutionary spirit to vote for you, to get off their ass to vote, and then you lose and you don't know why?
Well, I mean, this is just, I went through this. I did videos on this March for Medicare for All event that happened in July. That was put together by these Dore-esque types, the force the vote people. Again, I'm not anti-political activism, on-the-ground activism. I actually told people where they could check out details for the march, and if it was something for them to definitely go down and check it out. I did not shit talk the march or the organizers. My issue with it was the people who were saying this type of stuff. The fact that going to this one specific event made it or, basically made it or broke it if you were a true leftist, which is ridiculous. There are direct actions on the ground, in the street, activism, events going on a regular basis. People cannot go to every single one. Missing one does not kill your left-wing bona fides. Yet, because these guys don't usually do these things, the March for Medicare for All became their Woodstock. Like, this is it. This is the one event. The same way your hippie parents in the 60s talk about Woodstock because they were weekend warriors who just went to these rock concerts, when it was like the one big event to go to, and weren't like the people going down to the basement shows and the bar shows and the church, the church basement shows and the thrown together punk shows every week, that I was going to back in my day. But no, there's like, this the same shit. That's the same shit, basically. Like, that's a perfect analogy, quite frankly. Like, this is their one event because they don't usually do this shit for that. They don't usually do this shit. So for them, this was it. So because Nina Turner didn't go to the Ohio March for Medicare for All, and instead on that day did an event with AOC, a campaign event for her campaign with AOC, they think that this is what tanked her campaign because she didn't show that she was a true Medicare for All supporter because she didn't go to this March for Medicare for All event in Ohio. They never point out that the Ohio March for Medicare for All event did not take place in Nina Turner's district. She would have had to have driven 2+ hours, if I recall, outside of her district to attend the Ohio March for Medicare for All event. I think it was like 10 days before the election day for her race was. Just ludicrous. Ludicrous. Oh, Marla points out Nina is working at TYT now, which is probably why she's back on Jimmy Dore's radar. Of course, right. That makes sense. Nina Turner did not lose because she didn't go to the March for Medicare for All event. Full stop. Anyone making this assessment is a joke. You should not take them seriously.
That is the craziest thing. In the middle of a pandemic, you're not going to show up to a Medicare for All march? The most popular policy in the country. And
I mean, listen, they're also still holding on to these old polls from the primary, all of which were taken in like the first or second quarter of 2020. This is like old. Is Medicare for All popular according to those polls? Yes, it is. Unfortunately, things don't always seem to work out that way, right? I mean, ending the wars was also very popular for quite a while too. Like, bringing our troops home. Yet Joe Biden only did this last month. I mean, if you poll now, I would guarantee probably that there are other more pressing issues, actually. I know people are going to say, oh my God, I can't believe Matt just said that. But I'm sure that for people who are about to be evicted, the number one pressing issue is evictions, and their biggest support would go with the eviction moratorium. People's priorities have changed a bit. Obviously, Medicare for All is still very important. But even Bernie Sanders has made the political calculation to work on other things that have better chances of happening right now. You could agree, you could disagree with that, but it is what it is. That's what the situation we find ourselves in, right?
wonder why you couldn't beat the establishment. I wonder why.
And they made a ton of excuses for why Nina Turner lost. And if you looked at the rhetoric at the time, they was immediately punching down. They blamed the People's Party. They was blaming you.
Yes.
Well, that's silly too. I don't know anyone who really did that. And the reason that's silly, though, is the same reason why not attending the March for Medicare for All rally is silly, right? Like, the two reasons why that's both of those, that Nina Turner lost because she didn't attend the March for Medicare for All rally, and the assessment that Nina Turner lost because of the People's Party or Jimmy Dore actively criticizing her or working against her, both of those, they're on opposite sides, right? But both of those assessments are stupid for the same reason. And that reason is that your tiny subsection of the left is, quite frankly, inconsequential, unimportant, ineffective, politically non-existent. it is what it is. I would never blame the People's Party or Jimmy Dore or any forced to vote nonsense or anything like that on the reason Nina Turner lost. And that is for the reason that that shit isn't on the mind of voters. The majority of voters don't even know what that shit is. That's also why she didn't lose because of the March for Medicare for All rally, not attending that. I would venture to guess that 99.99999% of the people that voted in that special election did not even hear of such an event.
Everybody except them. I said Nina Turner lost because the squad disappointed their base.
That's right.
Now and people got mad at me like,
that's also fucking ridiculous. Who do these guys, these forced to vote Jimmy Dore folks, who do they think they are? Like, they really think they're way more important than they are. Same for, like, where they place the overall left. Quite frankly. I'm a leftist. I support a lot of the things they probably support. Although we have very different ways of getting about it. Or a lot of things they say they support, I should say. But I also have the political understanding and knowledge to know where the left exists in the current time period. And while it is growing and getting stronger and stronger, the majority of voters do not have the same political knowledge that people in this political bubble have. Yes, are people who vote in primaries and especially special elections more knowledgeable than the average voter who probably goes out and votes during a presidential election? Of course. But that doesn't mean they are in the same political bubble as people who do this day in and day out for their work, for their hobby, whatever it may be. For people who, the majority of these people are not in the online political discourse where a lot of these random criticisms and feuds play out. Quite frankly, the squad also had little to no effect in the Ohio race that Nina Turner was a part of. You think someone in Ohio going out to vote is thinking about AOC in the Bronx? It's ludicrous. Did Nina Turner have AOC come out for her? Yes. Why would she do that? Because Nina Turner knew who her base is, right? So AOC comes out and she's activating her base, leftists. Now, if you want to make the argument that her base didn't come out, that's also not true because Nina Turner's overall vote total and the demographics where that came shows that she won those very votes. In fact, she even won, if I recall, she even won the black and brown vote in that election. What lost Nina Turner the vote is the same thing that looks to have won Joe Biden, the primaries, and then the general election in 2020. White suburban voters came out and voted for whomever the Democratic establishment was backing. And Nina Turner, specifically Nina Turner, was toxic to them because she basically became the very symbol of the Bernie Sanders campaign, the anti-DNC, anti-democratic establishment Bernie Sanders campaign that they hated even more so than Bernie. Like Bernie, after he lost, put everything in to Joe Biden winning, right? Nina Turner, on the other hand, because of her 2016, her non-support of Hillary Clinton, and then in 2020, what she said about Joe Biden being like just as a bowl of shit or something like that, she basically created this persona for herself to them, which personified to those people everything they hated about the insurgent left-wing campaign that was really the Bernie Sanders campaign. And they basically took it out on her. They said, we can't have Nina win. And they put all this money, all these organizations threw money into this special election race. You had Clyburn come out and endorse Chantel Brown. Everyone came after Nina. And she lost for that reason. Should she run again? And would the result be different? Yes. And because I think it could be. I think the reaction to that race was very much really like a way of like an anger management program for these folks. They couldn't hit Bernie. Bernie was supporting full-throated support for Biden and obviously wasn't running for anything too. Nina Turner was the most high profile of that campaign to have an election this year. Or in the past year altogether, since, the primaries in 2020. And so they took everything out on Nina.
Are you telling me that Nina Turner lost because she didn't attend the Medicare for All march, that the squad didn't force the vote? And I said exactly.
Yes!
That's exactly why she lost. So what could have happened if you had...
How many people in Ohio District 11 do they think care about that shit? Like, it's so laughable. People do not care about your own personal, stupid Twitter grudges. How many people even showed up to the Ohio March for Medicare for All rally? A couple dozen?
Actually believed in the squad because the squad was fighting for them. If Nina Turner actually showed up to the Medicare for All marches, if you had Nina Turner that actually supported Force to Vote, if they actually was listening to activists, you will have activists that will actually phone bait, they will actually volunteer, and they can...
No. See, Nina Turner actually had all that. And he's going to get to it in a second, Nick, Socialist MMA. And he's going to get to it thinking he's making a point that he's not making. But let's continue so like we can get to that point, and then I'll bring up what I want to say to it.
You get over the finish line. That was my argument. So because the squad turned their base off, that's why she lost.
Nope.
And people got mad.
Nina had literally like Bernie Sanders campaign staff literally on the ground for her. She had an entire left-wing organizational effort on the ground for her. But we'll get to that in a second with the point he makes, without realizing he's making this point.
For saying that. Now this is the checkmate, right? So if their belief is there's nothing that AOC and Nina Turner could have done to stop them from losing because of the dark money. So if you're saying that the activists on the ground cannot help you defeat dark money, you're telling me that it's impossible to take over the Democratic Party.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's two things. The funny thing is, he's making a point he doesn't mean to make here. And that is that dark money, tons of money pouring into a race, can completely nullify on the ground organizational work, door knocking, canvassing, get out the vote efforts. And here's the thing. Correct. That's why the left, and really the broader progressive movement, has had such a problem with all this big money in politics. I don't know when Socialist MMA got into this whole political world, but for a long time, the left has had a real problem with something called Citizens United and money flowing into our political system. And that's because it basically undermines how political campaigns work. And basically, it no longer means that the best candidate wins. The best funded, the most well-funded candidate ends up winning. And that's because all the door knocking in the world cannot equal millions upon millions of dollars flooding the airwaves with someone's name. Now, are there candidates who overcome big money spending? Yes. This is usually easier for small campaigns, for local campaigns. I would say it's definitely easier for a congressional race in the House than a Senate race, which is the whole state. You can certainly make a name for yourself and ingratiate yourself with the people in a district. But it takes a lot of work, and it also, on top of that, requires that the dynamics of the race work out in your favor. It's not always going to happen, and a lot of times it doesn't. It takes mistakes from the Democratic establishment candidate, like in the case with Joe Crowley, not taking AOC seriously. But it doesn't always work that way. Now, as for taking over the Democratic Party, listen, if you think that big money, that dark money wouldn't come in to completely shut down a third-party effort even quicker than an insurgent left-wing campaign running on the Democratic ticket, then I don't know what to tell you. Because even if a left-wing candidate wins, and this is something right up your alley, right? You're the guys who think that Jimmy Dore and Socialist MMA, you are the left that believes that the Squad are a bunch of undercover agents, right? The fraud squad purposely voted in to pretend to be leftists, right? I mean, if that's what you believe, that they were, they were voted in and became, taken over by the Democratic Party. I mean, then why are these Democratic campaigns, the Democratic establishment, pouring all this money in to stop them? If Nina Turner was the next AOC, another fraud squad member, why was there such an effort to make sure she lost? I mean, it doesn't add up in your own assessment of the situation, right? Let's continue playing this.
That's the checkmate. So you're saying no matter how enthusiastic we are, we will always lose the dark money. And hey, I'm sorry, the dark money will always come. The dark money will always come. So if you can't overcome that, if we can't overcome that with Nina Turner, who else is more popular out that is not elected than Nina Turner? If she can't overcome that, then we might as well give up the failed strategy of taking over the Democratic Party.
I mean, Bernie Sanders is bigger and more well-known than Nina Turner. And he couldn't win the 2020 or the 2016 or 2020 presidential elections. He just did not, he wasn't able to pull it off. What that tells me is the left needs to do a lot more work in bringing people to our side. I mean, Bernie Sanders did really good. Basically created the modern left-wing movement right now. Whether you're further left than him or not, There's no denying he is responsible. His campaign is responsible for the left-wing insurgents we're seeing. Resurgence, I should say. The fact of the matter is, we're just not there yet. You can't expect. If you want to even go further back, 2011 with Occupy Wall Street, planting the seeds of the modern day left in this country. One that was basically left in shambles during and after the Bush administration, during the Obama years. Even then, even if you want to go back to Occupy, movement's only, 10 years old? With really, in my estimation, really coming to fruition, at least electorally, with Bernie Sanders in 2016, 5 years old? I mean, what are you expecting overnight, really? The left is getting more people into local, statewide, and national seats, quite frankly. City council races, mayoral races. Look at Buffalo. State Senate, assemblies. The left just needs to keep doing what they're doing and working at it. If you want to throw in the towel, because you see that people are losing, which is going to happen, it's going to happen. But if you want to throw in the towel, because people are losing and not attending your random marches, then you could do that, I guess. You could do that, I guess. If it's not really helpful to the movement you claim that you're a part of or want to see succeed at the very least. It is what it is, though. But the idea that Nina Turner lost because she didn't attend the Medicare for All march and didn't, I don't know if she was forced to vote or not, but didn't vocally advocate for it enough or whatever. It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous.